2026 first quarter, really similar to last year, we came at a loss of over 8. Our cash is not in checking accounts, also not in a high yield saving account. Most of our cash actually is in the brokerage. Alright, this is our asset allocation numbers. If you ever wonder what the numbers look like on the other side of early retirement, the profit and loss, this is the video. Welcome back to Freedom in Progress. This is the series where I share our finances every quarter. So if you are already financially independent or 5 years out, this video is for you because these are the things that we've been learning to handle our money in early retirement. And honestly, we're still figuring it out. But we want to share everything that we learned along the way. So hopefully it will be helpful for you and your journey to financial freedom. And it's always better to learn from somebody's mistakes than making your own right. If you're new here, I'm Angie. My husband, Thailand, and I retired at 35 and 38, and we're sharing everything that we've done to get here and life beyond that. So if you're interested in financial freedom, early retirement, or long-term travels, subscribe and join us on the stroll to freedom. All right, 3 things today. First, our Airbnb profit and loss for the first half of the year and how it stacks up again last year. I have to be real with you, it's not all good news. Second is an update on our asset allocation now that we are more in the preservation mode than growth and accumulation mode. And the last one is why we keep all of our cash in one account but in different forms. So it's not the usual advice you would hear, but there's a reason why we do it. Okay, first thing first, our Airbnb profits and loss. As I said, it's not really good news. So in Q1, our net loss, it's not even profits, is almost $10,000. Our Airbnb is very seasonal and the first quarter is always the lowest season. So it's really normal to have a really huge loss in the first quarter. The second quarter, we came at a positive over 4,000. So in 2025, for the first half of the year, we made a negative 5,000 in loss. In 2026 first quarter, really similar to last year, we came at a loss of over 8,000. But in Q2, we were also at a loss at negative 380. So the first half of the year, we are at a loss of like almost 9,000. Yeah, it's quite a gap. Almost 4,000 different in loss compared to last year. And the thing is, we have very similar revenues. I was looking at all the expenses and trying to figure out how can it be a difference of almost like $4,000, you know? But it's just like thing crept up a little bit here and a little bit there. And then we ended up at a negative 4,000 compared to last year. So hopefully we going to do better for the second half of the year. We see, so follow Freedom in Progress to see how our Airbnb is doing. Now, the next thing is assets allocation update. Before we get to this, I want to show you this app that I've been using to track our net worth. It's called Empower. Oh, and it's not sponsored. I am only using this to track our net worth. It's really powerful for that kind of job. So I linked all of our accounts except for our properties. I never want to count our home equity into our liquid net worth because it's just not that liquidable. So the net worth that we've been using for our FIRE number is always our liquid net worth. And Empower is free. So if you want to track your net worth more efficiently, you can check it out. Next, this is not our portfolio. Just a screenshot of that demo. I want to show what I usually would look at whenever I go into Empower. The first thing I look at is assets. So I don't even link credit card to Empower because I use another app to track our expenses. It's called widened. I mentioned it in another video. We don't have other liabilities except for mortgages, but I don't include real estate in this. Anyways, I would look at where we are today in terms of net worth. I also look at this shifting day by day. It's helpful in a way that if there's anything unusual, I can take a closer look at it. Just kind of like a really quick pulse of the market. But I usually didn't do anything. Just kind of like, being curious about it. The next thing is allocations. Why we want to know about asset allocation? Because diversification. When we're in the accumulation phase, we don't pay much attention to diversification. Of course, we do, but we don't have to put it. We didn't have bonds when we were accumulating because we just want to have a fast growth, and that's the risk that we're willing to take. But now that we are in retirement, we have to think more about our runway. And so we pay a lot more attention to diversification. And I want to show you why it's important. So if you look at this right here, it shows different assets throughout the years. This is large caps. For a lot of years, it had really good returns. But then in 2022, it was negative 18%, right? So there would be ups and downs for each of the assets. And then at the end, AA is asset allocation portfolios. It shows that this one has 15% large cap, 15% international, 10% small cap, 10% emerging market, 10% REITs, which is the real estate ETF, and 40% high grade bonds. Portfolio allocation allocations is up to us and up to the risk that we're willing to tolerate. But I want to show you this one so that you understand why you need diversification, because all the assets, they're not like consistently doing well every single year. And with X right here, you can see it fall in the middle of every single year. So of course, you don't have the highest growth, but you don't have the lowest loss. And that's the reason why we're just a lot more careful with asset allocations. All right, so this is our asset allocation numbers. And I added up the numbers so that it's a lot more simplified for you. So we have these percentage of cash, bond, stocks, and alternative. I just want to share the ratio of our stock and bond. Currently is 74 and 26. We are pretty okay with this. It's recommended to have a higher bond now because we are in our first year of early retirement, but I still want the growth of stock. So we're happy with this ratio for our stock and bond. And then for the stock buckets, we have large and mid cap, we have small cap, and we have some international. Right now, the large cap is overwhelming, over 80%, while the other ones are really small. So I think moving forward, I'm going to rebalance our portfolio every year. When we were buying our stocks throughout the past few years, we bought a lot of like US large cap, and thankfully, they've been doing really well. But moving forward, we're going to rebalance our portfolio to make this ratio a little bit less off balance. So we see we're going to share with you updates on how we're going to rebalance our portfolio. And now the last thing is why we keep multiple versions of cash. All right, first, our cash is not in checking accounts, also not in a high yield saving account. Is it a surprise to you? Anyway, so most of our cash actually is in the brokerage account. Specifically Fidelity. You can pick any brokerage account out there, Vanguard, Fidelity. Over the past few months, I consolidated our investments into Fidelity, but any reputable platform financial institutions out there would be a good choice. There are multiple ways to hold cash, but there are a few things that we have to keep in mind when we decide where we want to put our cash in. They are liquidity, how fast we can withdraw the cash in case of emergency. Yield is good enough to beat inflation. And if we can make any more than that, it's a bonus because inflation is just through the roof nowadays. And then security, how safe the cash is. And the last thing is state tax advantage. We live in Washington state, so this one doesn't really matter to us. But if you live in any states that has state and local income taxes, they would be really, really helpful for you. These are the three buckets that we have our cash in. The first one is SPA XX, which is the money market funds. And then SGov is just Treasury bill ETF, very short term, 0 to 3 months. And T-bills are just Treasury bills. SGov and T-bills are T-bills, but SGov is ETF. I don't even know how people say it, like SGOV. I always call it SGov. Anyway, in terms of liquidity, money market funds works almost like a checking account. You can order a debit card, so you can withdraw the money, do bill pay, do anything that a checking account can do. The only thing that a little bit tricky is depositing cash. It's not that important to us because we don't use cash on a daily basis. But if we happen to have cash and want to deposit, we can give the cash to our friend and they can Venmo us. So that's what we've been getting around with depositing cash. SGov is a highly liquidable tool. It's almost like money market funds. Moving forward, I may get rid of SGov. Think about it. And then Treasury bills, you have to wait for the maturity date to reap the yield benefits of it. Right now, the money market funds, high yield saving accounts, and SGov, they are very similar in terms of yield. Maybe in the future, there would be a difference, but right now, it's really negligible. And that's the reason why we don't use a high yield saving account. And that's also the reason why I'm thinking about maybe just getting rid of SGov. The T-bills, though, we're having a 6-month term T-bills, and it's slightly better than the current yield for the other ones that I just mentioned. And those are the cash that we don't need to access immediately. And in terms of security, this is not a bank account, so it's not FDIC insured, but it's still very safe because SGov and T-bills are pretty much you lending money to the US government. If they fail at giving you back, we have a bigger problem. And money market funds also holding a lot of treasury papers, so it's considered very safe as well. Now it's come to state tax advantage. If you have T-bills, then you don't have to pay local and state income taxes on your dividends. Let's say you make $1,000 in dividends each month, and you're in a state that you have to pay 20% for state and local income tax. That means you only take home $800. But if you hold your cash in T-bills, then you would take home that entire 1,000. If you live in those states, which most of us do, consider getting T-bills. So you will have like buckets for immediately accessible cash, but you also have a bucket for T-bills that have from 3 to 12 months terms. Some people build a ladder of T-bills in terms of like maturity date. Right now, I'm trying to have like some cash in the money market funds and some cash in T-bills wherever I see some good yield going on. And that would be it for our Q2 2026. Now I talk about how we store our cash. I made a video about how we manage the in and out of our money flow using the app that I mentioned earlier, widened. I've been using widened for at least 3-4 years, and it's been extremely powerful. Have full awareness of our income and expenses. I highly recommend it. In the video, I share how we set up widened to make sure that we pay ourselves first and also have money for guilt-free spendings. So check out the video if you're interested. I hope it is helpful. Please comment below if you have any questions. And before you go, I want to mention our newsletter. If you go to the strolltofreedom.com, we have a blog, and I've been writing not so much about like financial details stuff because I think YouTube is a better platform for it. I just write a lot more about like travel, deeper, emotional, personal stuff. So if you're interested, join our newsletter and maybe you find it helpful. All right, I hope it's helpful. Bye for now.